I mean, most folks who vote do not know that whoever wins the popular vote, the electoral college don't have to vote. They can vote for me or you. And if America acted a fool, they burn out the military. So this is not a free democratic society. What's it called? A republic? And so what you're looking at today is the same rich, powerful folk. How come they never interviewed? They interviewed garbage collectors, executives, but the rich folks, how come nobody's ever talked to the Henry Ford family, the Rockefeller family, the DuPont family? I mean, here's a country they talk about how well they done. How come we don't hear from them? We don't even hear about the money they give. We know one thing, if Donald Trump was doing something the super powerful did not get, shoot him just like they did Kennedy. And so consequently, when you look at the other night, when the Secret Service grabbed somebody yelled, they got a gun, and they wished him off the stage. And then say, oh, we didn't find the gun. Well, I mean, you going to ask the government, where's the gun that killed Kennedy? Huh? The people that's doing it is also in charge of it, the investigation. And so consequently, where we are now is the super rich people owns the networks. So how you expect, if you are a reporter with NBC, CBS, or ABC, you turn a story in, and they can legitimately tell you, well, I don't know if we can go with that. We might get a lawsuit. Okay? Let me just say this. Walter Cronkite interviewed LBJ 5 different days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And was going to run later. So someone called me and said, you know, CBS and Cronkite just interviewed LBJ. Can I get you a copy? Hey, yeah, you know. But just leave it somewhere so can nobody say I stole it. Now, up until that point, I thought that LBJ had something to do with Kennedy. Now you got to go back to the convention. The convention, Democratic Convention. LBJ was the most powerful man in Washington. So he was drunk when he came out on stage when they nominated him to be Kennedy's vice president. He said, I have more power in one day in the position I'm in now than the president will have in 4 years. But before that, he left the stage, and Sam Rayburn whispered something in his ear, and he come back and said, I accept. So I have to believe that he told him something then. Now, let's watch this. When he was interviewed by Walter Cronkite, here's what LBJ said, and changed my whole view. He said, I believe it was a conspiracy, and I believe Lee Harvey Oswald was part of it, but it was a small part. And I said, wow, man, he's saying that? Because up until then, I thought he was part of it. He becomes president. At the convention, he said he wouldn't take it, and then Sam Rayburn whispered something in his ear when he called up with him, and he came back and said, I'll accept it. Now, when that 5-part interview ran, that part was cut out. where he said he believed it was conspiracy. He said he believes Lee Harvey Oswald had something to do with it. Now watch this, man. That part's cut. So I see Walter Cronkite like 2 weeks later, and I said, you know, what happened to the part that was cut? He said, well, CBS overruled me. So I said, my grandmother don't call CBS Uncle Walty. They call you Uncle Walty. Mm-hmm. That's where the trust breaks down, except they don't know. Mm-hmm. Now, let's look at, now we know, I knew a week later that Kennedy didn't die in Dallas. He was arrestable. And how did I know? Some of the black folks that worked at the naval hospital where they carried him in New Hampshire. Then they moved into a Nassau's Island. That's what the wedding was about between Jackie Kennedy and the #1 worldwide thug, hoe, pimp. It's Onassis. So now, when Kennedy died in April of '71, Onassis' plane was taken off from France or somewhere, and it blew up. And he was upset for 2 reasons. One, his son's dead, but he said him and son was supposed to be on that plane. So he put up $1 million reward. A couple weeks later, he did. Now, there's one person left out of that whole. It was his daughter. She inherited the trillions of dollars. So she married the #2 man in the KGB. You can't get no safer than that, you know. And so the whole drug empire that they had, see, the shipping industry, but they had 2 sets of pipes, one for the oil and one for the drugs. And so 20 years they was married, and I guess she thought she was safe. She gets a divorce, and the next year she died. So she committed suicide. So what we're looking at now is Kennedy had signed an executive order to do away with the Federal Reserve. He did. 100 years before that, Abraham Lincoln signed an executive order in 1863 to do away with the central bank. Now, here's the cleverness. When Abraham Lincoln was killed, they made everybody believe it was about the Civil War. When Kennedy was shot, they made everybody believe about what he was doing for black folks. Now, let's look and see what he was doing for black folks. One, Ron Brown, the first black Secretary of Commerce. He brought money back from him and his son from China. He was being subpoenaed to come in federal court and be questioned about that. About a group that, you know, got the hearing. So anyway, he would have made it back. So he goes on a business trip as Secretary of Commerce. And he's killed in a plane wreck. Now, the interesting thing, the people that did the autopsy, the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, brought me the autopsy report and the pictures. The plane was intact. Didn't crash. Now, a little surprised, I didn't think they killed that many white folks. That order came down from Clinton. So now, let's look at this. The Chinese have loaned us trillions of dollars. Why would the Chinese loan us that kind of money? And this government's talking about how they're hacking into our stuff. I mean, why don't they call for their loan? You never hear nobody mention how much money, what kind of deal, what interest rate are we paying? And so when you have that as a backdrop, now let's look at Kennedy. Kennedy's cut off the food stamps to Mississippi to stop black folks from registering. So I held a press conference there, I'll pick it up. So I carried 7 tons of food to Mississippi every 2 weeks. Well, I didn't know till I was looking at Kathy Hughes' station that they got hold to the information where Kennedy top level meeting said we got to put it back because D.Gregory, because of his status, is making us have a bad name around the world. So they put it back. The other part is now, I'm saying now, out of all the black folks being lynched, the school decision, Topeka, Kansas, Brown versus the Board of Education. How many people have you ever heard about growing up being lynched in Kansas? No. So why wasn't it in Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana? Now, in Alabama, 2 suits was going up to the Supreme Court that they would have had to take on their merit. But those suits never got there. Can you imagine, man, if you was one of the lawyers in those 2 suits, one of the most famous, May the 17th, 1954. I can't remember some of my grandchildren's names. So something that important worldwide, it just shocked the whole world, but it didn't happen in Mississippi. So this shit been going on for so long, man. This stuff been going on for so long. Now we just want to believe that this just started happening. Dewey, 1948, ran for president against Harry Truman. At midnight, when everybody went to bed, Dewey was the president of the United States. We woke up that morning, Chicago thugs had changed it, and Truman had won. So we're going to keep talking about this just happened. And we were making jokes. When I was a little boy, I hear the old folk talking about how dead folk vote in Chicago. How many say, wait till the graveyard vote come in. Things will change. So not only once now. So when you look at the lesser of the evils, the lesser of the evils, if there's any God at all, and there is, that when you vote for the lesser of the 2 evils, you deserve the evil of the evil. Hitler, did you know, you hear about Hitler's power and that machine that he put together? It's hard to believe he came to power with 288 votes, that's all. I mean, think, not millions. 288 votes. And I've always said, with America, what I feel, if there any God at all, then it is. If that God don't do something to punish America, then that God owes Simon and Gomorrah a serious apology. I mean, we do things to make them thugs blessed because of technology, the stuff we have. And then let's look at America for a minute. We talk about the right to vote. The right to elect have nothing to do if you don't have the right to select. Now, what we looking at now is they said, oh, the black folks is not coming out in the early vote. What does that mean? They're getting ready to blame it on us. That's what's fixing to happen. Oh, if them black folks would have came out, Hillary would have won. Well, they blamed it on us when President Obama beat Hillary. They said it was the black vote. Man, if you was on this planet and alive, you know all black folks was talking about was the Clintons. And the black guy that used to own BET.
Bob Johnson.
Yeah. He even talked about Obama's drug problem. And you saw what happened to him.
Right.
You ain't heard nothing about it no more. And so they can do whatever they want to do. And if I had one thing I could do, I would take black folks to Germany and let them study the Jews. The difference between the Jews and what Hitler did to them and us here, the Jews didn't think they was part of Hitler's system. We do. No secretaries of state and all that in Hitler's Nazi. Jews wasn't going to army to war. We are. And for us to believe we part of the American system is believing white folk can cook chitlins better than black folks. And so as we go into this election, the mind has already been set. Black folks are scared. But you know, it's kind of interesting. You look at how the universe works, and I am so damn sick and tired of when a black is shot dead, shot in the back, and they say all cops are not bad. Look, you know how many lawyers get disbarred every year? You don't hear nobody about all lawyers ain't bad. You know how many doctors lose their medical license? You don't hear nobody talking about, oh, doctors aren't bad. The police department is filthy. See, I don't pay a lawyer or a doctor to have a gun to protect me and they're going to shoot me. And so as we go into this day, just watch and see. See, one of the things that happened is, and that's why I just refuse to talk about it before the election, because black folks will blame me. Why? Because NBC, CBS, and all of them say, D.Gregory. Now, I ain't never talked about me. I put up the reward, $25,000, to get information into the 3 civil rights workers that was murdered. For the first time in the history of the FBI, they put up a reward, $30,000. Never before. So then what happened? The guy who knew and had something to do with it, he gonna hustle both of us. So he wanted the $25,000 that I put up and the FBI, so he gave the information to both. There was never no arrest. So I was on my way to Hawaii, held a press conference in San Francisco, and said, Mr. President, if those bodies is not found by sundown today, I'm coming back and go to Mississippi with some shovels and some friends. We're going to dig them bodies up under the viaduct. They knew I knew. Right. So then that's when they come up with them. And so what I'm saying is, this has been going on It didn't just start. Now, I ran for president of the United States. And before Obama won the first time, a black had never run for president of the United States. Jesse, they ran in the primary. And so, running for president of the United States, somewhere somebody messed up. In the Wall Street Journal, November the 7th, the election was on the 4th, 1968, Wall Street Journal had this huge story that all the polling counts shut down at midnight because it was showing Dick Gregory is a presumptive president-elect of the United States because I got 9 million votes, hear me, in the state of Pennsylvania. Huh? Now, think about this, man. They were hooking up these machines, computer-wise. You know how old this country is.
Yes, sir.
If all the data in the Congressional Library could be put on a disk half the size of my thumb, fingernail, what kind of technology do you think they got? And that's why people are confused. They can't believe they're hearing it, and then he gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And the last big thing was a woman said she was on a plane, and somebody came and moved her from economy to first class. Can't nobody do that, man. If you get on a plane and there's somebody, what gives you the right to move somebody from economy to first class unless you work there? We never heard the name of the plane. And if I'm in a cab and the cab driver had a wreck, I'm not going to sue the cab driver. I'm going to sue the cab company. Nobody's ever told us what airline that was and why they didn't sue. So they bring her up to first class, sit her next till she finds Trump. Trump gets to fumbling her and put her hand under her dress, and she ain't called the police yet. Now, what kind of what kind of woman is that? And so, when you stop and think about what they're able to pull in America and get by with it, but that's why America's afraid for several reasons. You got white families that would be in their 5th generation of sending their family to Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Stanford, and they got them in community colleges. You got white families, children got 3-4 PhDs, they living in the basement apartment with their parents. So that's what Trump had tapped into. That's where the horror, that's why it's like you laying in the street, man, and you and your child have been hit by a bus, and you see somebody come up there, because you seen them on TV, calling black folks nigger and all of this here. You have no choice when that ambulance driver is him to take you to the hospital. That's what fear do. And so consequently, going into this day before, we know something big is planned. Something big. When Hillary passed out a couple of weeks ago, and they carried her to her daughter's house. Man, if you and I have a Secret Service detail, we decide her movements, not her. That's our job. If she would have died when she went to her daughter's house, we would be reprimanded. Why didn't you take her to the hospital? Now, I have people in Europe, they follow her by satellite. Follow Trump by satellite. They're telling me the Hillary that went in her daughter's house wasn't the one that came out. Okay? I understand now that the woman that was Trump's #1 money raiser was murdered. Nobody's reported it. And so when you stop and think about what this is really about, then we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Whatever happens is that handful of thug, pimp, punks that run this, not a bunch of fools, not the CIA or the FBI. And so that's where it's going. Do the Army come out? Could. You know, the American military, 85% of America is foreigners. Yeah, that's a good job for me and you, man. We anywhere in the world, poor, no education. Somebody come and recruit us. Not as refugees. You want to come to America and be part of our system. A job, house, take care of your children, everything. Why? Because white boys not going to come out and shoot down white folks in the street. So when this happened, we think that's the American military. All these secret tunnels and all this secret stuff that's built. We got a train underground for 20 years. Runs from California to New York in 48 minutes. So how you do that? Well, you got a missile going thousands of miles a second. All you got to do is straighten it out. And put under that foam stuff. We have a train system underground that goes from New York to France underwater. Okay? And the people that know it, they've been building cities in outer space since 1963. I met with the person that knew the person that built the space elevator. You think Queen Elizabeth gonna get on a rocket? Huh? So this is what go on in a dumb, drugged out system. So all at once now you hear them talking about drugs. Let me tell you what they're not talking about. The whole time we sitting here doing this interview, 81% of people in America that OD'd from drugs is white folks. 81%. After midnight, that turns into 91%. Why? Every day before you go to sleep, the brain tells your heart to keep beating. This new heroin they can put out here in the street, predominantly in white areas, this new heroin wipes that part of the brain out that tells you to keep beating. Now, if I figured this out, you mean the government haven't figured it out? Last year, year before last, 40,000 Mexican children come in this country every week. Now listen, if we can keep the KGB out, and they've gone to school, trillions of dollars to be trained to be spies, but they can't get in, how these children get in? And then again, what nasty thug man mentality that would tell the people, and then we believe it, that a mother would bring her children to the border and say, go to America. Go through the desert, go through the swamps, go through the drug pushers, go through the dudes over there that's hustling children to put them in a worldwide prostitute system. Mothers don't do that. But we are so dirty with that white supremacy that anything they can convince is below white folks in America. will believe. And so as we go into this election, my instructions to you is keep your camera ready. Don't take that as a day off. And be careful, because we don't know how big this is. I looked at Greece when the banks, people went to banks one day, millions of dollars in the bank, and they can only draw $50. Well, you do that in America, they're going to come out and tangle. And if you come out of America to tangle, you're going to get tangled. That's what this here election is about, because of fear. Fear. When you're scared, man, when you look at buildings that's on fire, you see people jump. Fear is scared, man. And so again, I just say to you, thank you, man. Because it's you. See, white folk get the same information you got, but they don't run it. They don't run it at all. You think generals who's doing this dirty stuff, Christians. That's one thing about old, dirty ass white Christians. When they get old, they want to get to heaven. So they start talking. Think they can clean it up, but you're not clean enough for the Catholic Church or the Baptist Church or the Muslims around the world. And so what do I think this is? Well, I didn't know till I went to Iran during the hostage crisis. And I didn't know then that out of the billions of Muslims on the planet, the average age is 17. So they sit down with the computer and said, 17, 10 years, how many babies will be born? In 50 years, in 100 years, in 1,000 years. I said, whoa, let's move on them now. And that's what this is about. To make what they call the civilized world. To make them believe that they're being attacked. I know black folks were scared of the Nation of Islam. They black folks. Suit and a tie on. But they taught us to be scared of the Nation of Islam. And so that's where we are. And that's what we're going into now. And you heard ISIS said on Monday before the election, let's attack. Come on, y'all. Why they got to be so stupid they're going to tell people what they're going to do? Just do it. And so again, I just say to you and people out here like you, I hear the people talk about what they saw on your show. And the fact you ain't interviewing me every day. It ain't our show, it's your show. So how many other people that's willing to talk and tell what's going on? And how many of the millions of people who hear you and have trust in you? They're not listening to just anybody that puts it out there. They're not going to be part of a trick with the government to promote something like NBC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post. Obama's last election running against Romney. 2 weeks before that election, they were supposed to kill Romney. Now, black folk thought they were supposed to kill the president. No, they was going to kill Romney. General Petraeus was head of the CIA in a Democratic administration, and he was Republican. So that's where they was going to take it. But it failed. They shut it down. Now, they couldn't tell nobody. Now, that's the only time I can understand, because if a bunch of pimps and hustlers going to overthrow America, but when the military is going to do it, trillions of dollars of people's money comes out. Foreigners come out. So they had to act like it didn't happen. It's the same thing when they tried to kill Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt.
Yeah, in Miami. And they missed and killed the mayor of Chicago. And so again, I just said that a lot of people will understand a little bit more because of this social media out here. But they won't understand as much if they was listening to black stations. Because I'm not about to believe that black stations know more than white stations. We're not in position to know that. So what about these generals, man? And then let's look at something else. The voting rights bill was passed 50 years ago. So if you was 30, you 80 now. And I was so glad that the Democrats lost the Senate and the Congress because they was dealing with some black folks. They didn't have the respect for that black vote, and black folks never dawned on them the power they had to say, wait a minute, we need $200 million. $200 million. And X amount got to go to black radio stations, to few black TV stations. They didn't ask for that. Why? They didn't know. Now let me show you how it works. If I'm 30, 50 years later, I'm 80, man, I got problems with my bladder. I got problems with my eyesight. I got problems with my memory. Do you know how many black folks, and I'm sure white folks too, die because they forgot they already took their medicine? So they take it again. And so black folks, white folks out there forgot they hadn't voted. So you need people out there, you know what I mean, older folk, because of their vision and stuff, cannot get driver's license. So what they gonna do, walk to the poll? So they should have factored in. Now they lost trillions of dollars by losing the Senate and the Congress. Good, they deserved it. Trillions of dollars. Because that power they had, they don't have now. And so everybody that tried to bust them, Harry Reid, almost he has an accident. We see him with a patch over his eye. He fell off of his exercise machine. What's the senator from California? Feinstein.
Yeah, Feinstein.
And Boxer. Tried to bust the CIA. Now, all at once they resign. That's what this is about. And so, again, going into this, it's the most exciting thing I ever seen in my life. After following it and watching it, and then see it, you know, when Obama won the first time, second time, they didn't blame us. There's all the Negroes, all that came out. They voted 5 or 6 times. Now they want to blame us if nothing happens. And you say, well, Hillary didn't win because they didn't come out. And no, how you know? How you know? So again, I just say, man, thanks for you. I'm very careful about what I'm saying now.
That's right.
Because they had this all over NBC, CBS, ABC, Dick Gregory, and Dick Gregory's one of the most powerful influence. Oh, come on, crack up. I'm not going to let them blame me for their trick they're fixing to do. But just watch it close. Watch it close. And you'll see something.
Bob, I want to ask you this. I know you said that Donald Trump's #1 fundraiser died recently, was killed.
Yeah.
What you said about the incident with Mike Pence in the airplane in LaGuardia? The airplane went off the...
went off the runway.
Yes, sir. What was it about? Was it a warning? Was it like a message they were trying to send?
I can't speak for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't speak for them at all. But the woman was murdered. His number one guy, they said he's in Russia trying to get asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So somebody's scared of something other than us. You know, other than us. Now all they got to do is blow up Catholic Church, blow up the Vatican. Hey, if you can hit the Pentagon, you can hit heaven. Okay?
Right.
So that's what this is about. They tell us that two little punks, the marathon in Boston.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now think about it. I live in Massachusetts. Patriots Day, it's a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So if you was running the marathon, I'll come see you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Party down. You can't party because you got to run.
Right.
So you got friends to be there. So the marathon starts at about 45 miles outside of Boston. And there's about 150,000 people show up to see the start.
Mm-hmm.
How come they didn't blow that up? You know how many people you could kill?
Yes, sir.
And that's what terrorism is about.
Mm-hmm.
How many people you would kill? Now, the first 2 hours at the finish, nothing happened. Now, do you realize, man, if they would have blown that up as the runners was finishing, there wouldn't have been no marathons, because 90% of your top runners would be dead or injured.
Yes, sir.
So what's that about? And so I'm just saying there's something going on in this country that scares the people whose job it is to scare the people.
Right.
And so that's what we're looking at.
I also know that the brothers who was involved in that bombing, the marathon bombing, their uncle, who was very critical of them, he was married to a woman whose dad was a big-time CIA person.
Yeah. Well, not only that, the two FBI agents that was over the entire investigation, they ended up dying mysteriously 2 weeks after they got back to Virginia.
They fell out the helicopter or something?
Fell out the helicopter. It's like a child falling out the bunk bed.
Yes, sir.
The bottom.
Wow. And also, I know people want me to ask you about, are you familiar with the Mandela effect?
I'm kind of look at my...
Yes, sir.
So it's 9:30. I mean, no, 8:30.
8:30.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to start packing up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, what was
the Mandela effect? People want to ask you about the Mandela effect, where I guess they reimagine what really happened in the past is reinvented, or things I remember differently. Are you familiar with that?
So when they call it the Mandela effect, they're not talking about Nelson.
I think it's referring to Nelson, like people saying that they recall him dying earlier than what they said he died, or something like that. It's like a different way of looking at history.
Oh yeah, well they do that all the time. They do that all the time. And the thing that bothers me more about Mandela is the truth and truth and
reconciliation. Yeah.
These are white folks that did head transplants for science. Black folks murdered them. And they say, if you come in this committee and admit you did it, you can never be prosecuted.
That's right.
But then he couldn't forgive Winnie. Come on, brother. And so when you stop and think about white supremacy, not racism, everybody knew that South Africa had a nuclear bomb And the black press don't even ask about it. Where is it? Who got it?
Yes, sir.
Where is the nuclear bomb that you had? And so again, I say, this will probably be an interesting day tomorrow.
It should be. I know some people do believe that Mandela was probably killed and replaced in prison. Is that possible?